I'm Susan, and welcome to Tea and Games. Tea today is very, very hot, so I won't be taking a sip. Actually, the tea today is Brodies Scottish Breakfast, which I have mentioned and had on the video before. It is the strongest breakfast blend that I know of. At least it's the strongest flavored. I don't actually have the numbers on the caffeine, but I mean, it feels like you've just been punched by tea when you drink it. Anyhow, we have new mugs for our game days. These are from the Watch It Played channel. And they come in different colors. You can choose your color. I thought about getting green because I always play green, but it seemed like the green meeple didn't show up quite as well as I would like. So I got two mugs, one in yellow and the other in purple, so that Robert and I will have game-themed mugs for our weekend gaming. I'm just going to keep blowing on this and put my arms down so I don't look like a chicken. Nobody here but us chickens. Oh, let me see. My handy dandy notebook. Wait, welcome to new subscribers. If you're new here, this is basically organized chaos. My husband and I are casual weekend board gamers. My husband's Robert. He's not going to appear on these things because he doesn't want to. But we play games on the weekend. We're casual. I'm not saying that we're terribly good at it, but we are not professional board game people. I'm not a professional board game reviewer. Just take what you see here with a grain of salt. Just talking about fun things, pouring a beverage and having a nice little chat. Nobody sends me free stuff. So, I mean, if you see me with stuff, it is not because a publisher wanted me to say how much I liked it. I'm holding it up and saying I really like it because I really like it, and nobody paid me anything. So I don't have to do that whole song and dance about how they paid me, but I really do like it. So that's not me. There are a lot of really good professional reviewers out there, and you should find some of them if you want really professional reviews. But me, I'm just talking about board games. We had a 4-day weekend. It was a 3-day holiday weekend here in the U.S. for Labor Day, which is typically Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But we took Friday off too to make it 4 days, and then we just proceeded to play games like maniacs. Although I will say we didn't just pack the days with games. We did other things, like we would just like wander off and read for a while, or run a short little errand, or do something in the kitchen. Friday, I took time off from the game because I was making lasagna to take to a friend who had just gotten out of the hospital. So, you know, there were little other things that were going on over the weekend. It wasn't just game. But one of the things that I wanted to do was play like some big games that just don't hit the table very often, that are really good, but you know, time and all, because a lot of times we're just like playing a game and then going off and doing something else and then coming back and playing another game, which you can't do quite as easily. Kind of ruins the flow of things if you've got that with a huge game that's all over the table. You're looking at it and going like, where was I? What was I doing? What was my strategy going to be here? I have no idea what I was doing 2 hours ago when I sat down. So, you know, we just kind of keep it short if we're going to be doing other things. But Friday, we went big. We went really, really big. And the game had just wrapped up about the time the lasagna came out of the oven, and that worked out okay. This is very heavy because I have repacked it with expansion cards and stuff. But Friday, we played Firefly the game, which when people ask me, I tend to say this is my favorite game because I love the TV show, and I wish that it had gone on longer so that we could have done even more with the characters and the storyline. And yeah, I do know there was a movie, but I like this game. I think it captures the feel of the show pretty well in some respects. It's kind of long and it's kind of slow, and the playmat stretches the entire length of the dining room table, or almost the entire length. We had enough room to put cards down at that far end, and whoa, this nearly fell into my lap. I think I should put this down now. And some cards down here, and then we had like bit bowls with stuff strung out all over the time. It was only a 2-player game, but basically between all of the little bits and the play mats and the rows of cards and discarding cards and discarding cards and discarding cards and discards, it took up the whole dining room table. And you're probably wondering, what did I do that I'm handling this so gingerly? So I will show you. I have all of the expansions, all of the promos. I have the vinyl playmat, and I did back the Game Found big box upgrade kit because I've got pretty much everything. But this is, and I sleeved every card because this game means something to me. But yeah, you can see these are cards and sleeves here, and then I've got more cards in boxes here, and then I've got some of the bits and dice. And then I've got more dice and some other expansion stuff in, I think it's the Kalidasa box. But and I left the game book out. That's a thing that I do when I'm packing up and putting away a game after playing. So I put everything in there very carefully, and I put the lid on, and then I discovered I left the game book out. But we played with 6 expansions. So yeah, Kalidasa. Wait, I wrote this down. Why should I say this? Okay, Kalidasa, Blue Sun, the Breaking Atmo deck, the Big Damn Heroes promo cards. We played with Jet Wash. Robert did Jet Wash, and I did Esmeralda for the 2 ships. Those are expansion ships. We did not play with Crime and Punishment, Bounty Hunters, or the Artful Dodger ship. So, yeah. Big damn game. Talk about Big Damn Heroes from the TV show, but yeah, the game was 5 hours. 5 hours, and that did not include setup or takedown, which had to be done after the lasagna was delivered. Just barely right enough to drink. So we had a lot of fun playing it, but I have some doubts about whether or not I can keep saying that Firefly is my favorite game. Somebody asked me recently, what's your favorite game? And I just blanked. Of course, this was right after a Starfinder game, and my brain was kind of fried. I was still in another universe entirely. But I kind of blanked, and I just kind of sputtered, well, there's so many games out there. We've played so many games. And then I said Firefly because it reminds me so much of the show. It's kind of long and slow in some ways because that whole pick up and deliver thing that they did on the show was, it's a slow process, though, of course, it's punctuated by violence frequently and also by humor frequently. But if you only play a game once a year, because it takes the whole day to play. Although, admittedly, I think the story that we chose, this is not one that we had done before. And the story we chose is just, it was awkward. We looked at it and we thought, oh, that sounds neat. That should work out really good. And then when we actually got into playing it, we found that it was difficult and frustrating and slow. This was actually probably the longest Firefly game we've played. I don't know. I think we probably have had others that are somewhere in that range, but it's usually closer to 3 hours, I think. 3.5, something like that, maybe. Interestingly enough, on the Firefly Game Found for the upgrade, the anniversary big box thing and upgrade, it listed as 1 to 10 players and 120 minutes. Yes, everybody who's played this game is now falling on the floor laughing because I've never played a 2-hour game with this, and I've also never played it at a higher player count than 2 because more people mean a longer game. So yeah, 10 players in a 2-hour game, it's like, man, those people must have been drinking heavy when they wrote that copy. Just kidding, just kidding. I'm sure they're fine. Oh, so that's what we did on Friday. And because of setup and tear down and making food for the friend that got out of the hospital, that kind of just pretty much took up the whole day, but I mean, I wasn't thinking that this was going to be a 5-hour game when I set it up. But anyhow, oh, I went straight into this without telling you what's happening. September 21st will be the 1-year anniversary. That's why I have these notes. Will be the 1-year anniversary of this channel. And I kind of like to have 100 subscribers before we hit that 1-year mark. Just because it's like that big, incredibly, stupidly big number for somebody who just sits around and talks about board game and isn't doing a board game pro kind of thing. I'm just making these for friends, these videos. But next week, I'm going to hit the unplayed game shelf. That's what next week's video will be about. Because I started off these videos talking about the whole unplayed game shelf project. So we'll check in on that next week. And we made more progress than I thought we would on the unplayed game shelf, but there's still some big names and some big games that are sitting on the shelf and have been for years. So we will take a look at that next week. And then the week after that will be the anniversary week. So that's what's going to be happening here. It's rare that I know what I am doing that far ahead, because not a professional board game video thing person. Okay, so Friday was Firefly, expansions, and I still don't know if it's my favorite game or not. I'm going to have to think about that. I feel like that if I played it more often, maybe I could legitimately say it's my favorite game, but can you really say something is your favorite game if you only play it once a year? I kind of feel like Firefly should be a lifestyle game. And that's the only way that you could really just get the right number of plays out of it But anyhow, Saturday was a big deal. Saturday, something we never thought would happen, happened. Got one off our unplayed game shelf. Rodney Smith from the Watch It Play channel. If you are watching this, yes, it has happened. We played Cribbage. Yes, we did. We actually did it. Yeah, this was something that we've been working on this year. I grabbed this cribbage board from Half Price Books just kind of on impulse because I was curious about it. I thought, I've heard about this and I've seen the board. It looks cool. Something, I don't know how you play it. I will find out. It's like an old game from the 1800s or something. So I'm thinking, how hard could it be? It has really fiddly scoring and really confusing rules. And so we made a stab at it. And I actually did a video on our failed attempt to play Cribbage before, and it was the Cribbage versus Robinson Crusoe thing. And we're looking at this and we're going like, I would rather play Robinson Crusoe. But we got through a full game of Cribbage. It was long. Felt longer than it should have been. Cribbage is a terrific, relaxing game if you find math relaxing. I don't find math particularly relaxing, but it was interesting once we started to get the hang of it. I'm not going to swear that we got every little tiny fiddly point we were supposed to get, but I think we got pretty close, honestly, because I've been working on learning this game for a while now and trying to get all of the myriad scoring conditions straight. And when you can score this and when you use the starter card, starter card, and it's got specific lingo that goes with all of the different actions. So it's like learning something that's completely alien. Yes, this is what people on other planets play. They play Cribbage. But it was kind of interesting, and we kind of got a rhythm going, and we started, because the game just goes on and on and on, hand after hand after hand after hand, because you've got to get 121 points. We started to get the hang of it. I thought it was okay, but if I decided to trade this in for something else or get rid of it, I would be fine if I never played cribbage again. I mean, it was okay, but it's not one of those things that I'm going to say, oh, gee, I really want to play cribbage. Let's pull it off the shelf. It was kind of interesting. And the board is a scoring board. It's actually a card game. But Robert wants to keep it. He thought it was interesting. I won the game by, I think, about 10 points because it was really even. We were neck and neck, switching off between dealers and everything. We were neck and neck until, I guess, about halfway through, I had one big hand. I had one hand that scored well. And because of what the starter card was, the crib just cascaded into an insanely high score for a crib. So I was dealer that time, so I got the crib as well as my hand. So I had a good hand and a really insanely good crib too. So that bumped me ahead, and he got close to catching up a couple of times, but never quite made it. And then I just widened the gap right there toward the end. That last hand, I don't know what you do if your last hand and you're starting to score it and you're scoring beyond 120, what you do or anything. I just stopped scoring once I pegged 120 because I was one short of it when I started that hand. But yeah, we played cribbage. And it was not bad, but we still prefer Robinson Crusoe, which we considered playing this weekend but didn't because we just kind of ran out of time. We didn't play games all the time. We did a few other things. Sometimes we would just wander off and read. I had a couple of library books and a few ebooks, and Robert actually the library books were ebooks, but I mean other ebooks, and Robert was reading some stuff, so yeah, that was just kind of a slow, lazy day. We did play one big game on Saturday, and that was, we got our second play of Forbidden Jungle in. Okay, this really is a winner. If you like Forbidden Island and you like Forbidden Desert, we are not talking about Forbidden Sky. We may never talk about it again. And those of you who saw the video, y'all are all going, yes. If you like island and desert in this series, then there's a good chance you will like Forbidden Jungle. Gameplay is kind of similar in some respects. That's the way it is. They tend to have basically the gameplay for Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, and Forbidden Jungle is all similar, but each game in that series adds a level of complexity. Here you are on an alien planet. You are trying to clear off the aliens, set up the energy crystals for the portal in the right configuration, and go through the portal to get back home. We lost again. But we really enjoyed playing, and we paired a half hour off of gameplay. It was only a 2-hour game this time, and it's not supposed to be that long, but it's like we fight very, very hard to stay in the game, and we are very, very good at clearing aliens and clearing hatchlings and managing webs. Actually, the first game we lost because of poor web management. But this game, we got within sight of winning. You want to know how we lost this time? This time we lost because we topped out the threat level meter. I mean, we just went off the scale. 5 cards and just 5 cards and 5 cards and 5 cards and then poof. So, but we got within sight of winning. What we needed to do in order to win, we were basically just 2 turns away from winning, or 2 moves away from winning. What we needed to do was we needed to get to one of the remaining configurator tiles, and then we needed to move 1 crystal tile and then either another crystal or portal tile. There were 2 tiles that needed to be shifted 1 square, which we could do from the configurator tile. So basically one person turn, because it's like I think it was Robert's turn up next. If I had not had a threat level rise and go all the way off the board, then he would have taken his turn, go to the configurator, then move one of the tiles, and then I would take my turn, and then he would move another one from the same configurator tile, because I was not close to a configurator, if I'm remembering correctly. Gosh, that was Saturday. I don't know if I remember, but we had so much fun playing this. We really enjoyed it. If you like co-op games and you like the early games in the Forbidden series, Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert, you need to look into this. Do a little bit more research. Check with some channels that actually do how to play and reviews and gameplay stuff, and see if this is something you would like, because, oh, we are enjoying the heck out of it. I mean, and that says a lot about a game if you lose the game and you still really like the game, especially for a co-op game. So we've played it twice now. We haven't won yet, but we got close this time. It took us a long time, though. But let's see, that was Cribbage and Forbidden Jungle was Saturday. Yeah. Let me see what I've got on my notes here. Sunday we played a new game. And yeah, I know I'm going to do that Unplayed Games Shelf video next week, but we're still buying games. Over the weekend, we picked up Mist over Carcassonne. Those of you who know this channel and watch the videos know that Carcassonne is Robert's favorite game, and I really like it a lot too. I play it more on the app, actually, though I play a lot with Robert. But we got Mist over Carcassonne, which is a co-op version of Carcassonne, with Ghost that you have to get rid of, and as well as you have to get a certain number of points. As a co-op game, I should also add that this has scalable difficulty. We were at level 1. We did win at level 1, though really the tutorial did not help. I'll get to that in just a second, but it has 6 levels of difficulty, so you can basically work your way up on this. So it does have a bit of replayability, and if you get tired of working your way up through the levels of the co-op version, this will also act as the Ghost Castles and Cemeteries. That's it. Or Cemeteries and Castles, something like that, expansion for the base game, which you can play competitively. Oh, I almost turned off the thing there. So this can act as an expansion for a competitive version of the game, and I think the Ghost will mess with you on that one too. I'm not absolutely sure about that. We have not looked into the competitive version. What we did for this is one of the games that there's a tutorial walkthrough in the Dized app. Dized. It has tutorials for a large number of popular games, including all the tiny epics, by the way. That's how I first became aware of it, but it does have a tutorial in it. I would recommend that you read the rule book rather than just play the tutorial and have them walk you through it for the beginning of the game, because we darn nearly lost this game because of the blankety blank tutorial that was walking us through gameplay and saying, okay, you drew this tile. Does this tile have Ghost and Mist on it? Did you put this tile? Did this tile complete a city? The tutorial was a little annoying for us because we are extremely familiar with how to play Carcassonne. It's not that difficult. I mean, this is the most entry-level of entry-level games I can think of. Pretty much anybody could play this and enjoy it. But yeah, the tutorial kept giving us all of this information, but it was not telling us how to get rid of the Ghost. And if you run out of Ghost in the supply, you lose the game. And we came within 1 Ghost of losing before it told us one of 2 ways to remove Ghost from the tiles. And we came darn nearly close to losing again before he got around to telling us the second one. Finally, what actually happened is we grabbed the rule book and started looking through the rule book, because I had glanced at the rule book and I realized that I had read something about clearing Ghost off and completing cloud banks and removing Ghosts from tiles and things like that. But I couldn't remember exactly what it was. So Robert got out the rule book, and that is what saved us. So at the beginning of the tutorial, it tells you, put the rule book away. You will not need it. Okay, I've used Dies apps for tutorials for other games. I highly recommend it for Robinson Crusoe, for instance. But I would not recommend putting the rule book away in using the tutorial for Mist over Carcassonne. You need to look at the rule book and read through it and get kind of oriented, particularly on how to get rid of ghosts. Because if you right off the bat pull a tile that has a huge number of ghosts in it and you don't understand the rules for tile placement and for completing cloud banks and for scoring or removing ghosts, then you could actually lose the game while you're going through the tutorial. So yeah, read the rule book, then have the tutorial walk you through, particularly if you've never played Carcassonne before, because it will teach you basically the basic rules of Carcassonne along with this, which was a little annoying to anybody who already knows how to play, because you're just going, yes, 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 but what about this? So it was the game, however, the game was a success. We enjoyed it. Once we knew what we were doing, we won it pretty fast. I think we could probably bump ourselves up to level 2 in the gameplay difficulty level. And by the way, the artwork on here is not representative of the artwork on the game. The artwork on the game looks more like that. Actually, it's pretty good artwork. The ghosts look like goofy cartoon ghosts on all of this artwork and that. But the artwork on the tiles, see, the ghosts look much better. And that Mist is a cloud bank which can be completed like you can complete cities and roads and stuff like that. So you kind of have to balance. Scoring is how you win the game, but you kind of have to balance managing the cloud banks and finishing up features. One nifty thing about this is you can double score on cities and roads and things like that. If you can get 2 different colored meeples onto the city and road features, then you can, because see, sharing, it's a co-op game, it's okay to share, and that will actually allow you to score double, which really helps getting the points you need to win before the ghosts like kill you or whatever. So anyhow, yeah, let me see. We enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was a knock 'em out of the park hit, but that's probably because we were a little frustrated with the app because it was telling us all the stuff we already knew and none of the stuff that we needed to know. But I think the second playthrough will go much better. We might not get around to that until spooky season comes around in October. We've got an unusually large number of spooky themed games, although I would say that the games themselves are not particularly terrifying. We don't have any like really dark games in our spooky season games, so don't brace for impact or anything. They're kind of on that level. Okay, so let me see, what else did we do? Mist over Carcassonne, we basically bought that over the weekend and then like played it as soon as we got it. And then also on Sunday we played, because this past week I had ordered the wildlife expansion for parks. And this past week we got it, and so on Sunday we played parks and got a... Yes, everything's rattling because I tried to stuff everything into the game box. So we played parks with the wildlife expansion. Just the wildlife expansion. We have Nightfall here, and we've played with Nightfall, but we wanted to see what parks did just on its own, not with other things. I mean, what wildlife did just on its own without other things. Wildlife, this expansion, I would highly recommend this expansion pretty much for everyone who plays parks. Even people that are not crazy about getting expansions for games. There are some people that's got to have all the expansions for everything, and there are some people that are going like, I don't really care about expansions. You could say that the wildlife expansion is the expansion for people who really don't care about or don't particularly want expansions. The wildlife expansion is, oh gosh, that's right, I put the rule book in here for it. The wildlife expansion is basically more of everything. You have more parks. Well, I think the park names are like with Nightfall. There's some duplicates, but you have new artwork. So it kind of freshens up that. But also the new cards, some or all of them have the special scoring conditions that you saw in the Nightfall expansion, which you don't have to have Nightfall to play this because we played it without Nightfall. Let me see if I can just luck onto one of these here. Yeah, here's one. And as it happens, this is from the Wildlife expansion. And what this means with this division here, if you haven't played with any expansions, is these on this side is what you pay to visit the park. And the lightning bolt here that separates this means that you get this as an instant action, or in this case, an instant thing. You get a wildlife token for visiting the park. So that is a thing in Nightfall and also in some or all of the parks cards in the Wildlife expansion. It also gives you more trail tiles. So it gives you more advanced trail tiles, and it changes a couple of rules, a couple of minor rules that help. This tile that's in the base game, this is an advanced tile, but this will always be the first season advanced tile shuffled in with the regular tiles, so that it will be available for all 4 seasons. And then the other advanced tiles that you get with the Wildlife, some of which have some very, very nice action things on them. Those, you shuffle those, and then you add 3 more to be put down, to be shuffled in for your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th season as it comes along. But what this means is really no 2 games really aren't alike, because the trail will not be the same in any 2 games. Because in this game you may have these 4 advanced tokens or advanced trail tiles, and in this other game you may have a different combination trail tiles that you didn't have in the previous game. So I thought that was kind of interesting and neat. One other change they make to rules is for your canteen deck. I don't know where the canteen deck is in here. For your canteen deck, you will draw 2 canteen tiles at the beginning and choose which one to keep. And when you draw a canteens during the course of the game, again, you will draw 2 and choose one. And the only other rule change it makes is you have, and I don't know what I did with it, whether I put it in this or the other box, because, yeah, here it is. You have a wandering bison meeple, which goes like from left to right on the parks. And if you visit a park, not reserve, if you reserve a park, nothing. But if you visit a park that has the bison on it, then you pay what you need for the park, but you get a wildlife token. And then the bison moves to the next park. And when he gets to the end of the row, he goes back to the beginning. If you reserve a park that has the bison on it, then the bison just moves on and you don't get anything from it. So that's something to keep in mind. That was a nifty little way to get you just a little bit more extra of those kind of wild card tokens things. But basically, those are the only rule changes. They're kind of small. They're not going to be difficult to incorporate. They make a lot of sense. But essentially, it just gives you more of everything. It gives you more park cards. It gives you more tiles. It gives you more gear cards. It gives you more season cards, more canteen cards. It gives you more of all of the stuff that you liked about the original game. And that's one of the things that I don't like about some expansions, is that you get the expansion, and when you play the game with the expansion makes so many changes that it's like it like gets rid of all the stuff you loved about the original game and makes it into like a totally new game. The Wildlife expansion does not do that. Nightfall makes more changes than Wildlife does, and it adds new mechanisms. We like Nightfall, but honestly, I like Wildlife better. I really, really do. If I had to only play with one expansion, it would hands down be Wildlife. But that's just me. I like the fact that Wildlife basically just takes all of the stuff that I love in the base game and says, here, have a lot more of it. And let's smooth out a couple of these little rule things here to make gameplay a little bit better. And that's it. So anyhow, we played Parks and we had a good time playing it. And it was just the Wildlife expansion, that play. Now on Monday we did play Parks with both expansions. So we have played them with the two expansions together. And I mean, I didn't see any reason why it wouldn't work together. Wildlife is conspicuously built to work with Nightfall because it includes some of the stuff that was introduced in Nightfall, like the instant actions on the park cards. But you can play this game with one or both. They're not dependent upon each other or anything. So, and they played well together. So we got in actually 2 games of Parks this weekend. Monday we played with both, but we also played, wait a minute. No, missed over Carcassonne. I got lost. On Sunday, we also played base game of Carcassonne with the Abbott and the First River expansion. So after Mist, we played that. And then we played Parks. And then we go on to, I'm going to slide that in there. I hope it doesn't fall into the camera. Then on Monday, besides playing Parks, we played a game that we were gifted by the family. They went to, one of those theme park things, and they brought back a game, like they bring back stuff for us when they go places. So they brought back this game, Golden Snitch, Snatcher, the Quidditch game. And you can see what the game setup looks like. When I got the game, I immediately opened it up and punched the thingies and built the little tower things. I think I may have shown this in another video when we first got it, so I can show you what the little tower things look like here. Here's the, yeah. These have no function in the game. They just sit on the board. They're like decorative thing, and we knocked them over a couple of times in the course of the very short game we played. One problem with them is they've got like sticky tape here to stick down this thing on the side, and they tend to come unstuck. You may just want to glue it if you want to do this game at all. And I'm not sure you want to do this game at all. The rule book. The kindest thing I can say about the rule book is that it is an utter mess. It is not well done at all. It is definitely going to make the short list of all-time worst rule books I have encountered. And let me tell you, I've encountered some bad rule books. There's a reason why we tend to lean heavily on videos for how to play. But yeah, it took us longer to figure out how to play with the crappy rule book than it did to play the game. And after we played the game, we looked at each other across the table. It is a 2-player game. And kind of went, this is not a good game. I'm sorry, but it just isn't. I mean, I know people out there that love Harry Potter and want like family weight, simple Harry Potter game. I think if you had kids and you made up your own rules for this, that this could be a 2-player game for children if you made up your own rules for how to play, because I kind of think this game is broken. There are things in the gameplay. After we finish playing the game, I'm just looking at this and I'm going like, okay, you've got all of this stuff that you do in gameplay, but doing this, and this, which is like the core of your gameplay, moving the pieces and drawing cards and playing cards and all of that, none of that helps you win the game. And you have a quaffle, which theoretically you can score with the quaffle, like move the quaffle to the goalpost and score with it, but there's no scoreboard. And furthermore, Scoring does not, there's no scoreboard, there are no score sheets, there are no numbers on the board, despite the fact that you see what you see here with this. There's a round track with squares all the way around it where they could have very easily put numbers, but they didn't. So you're playing cards and you're trying to score with the quaffle and you're moving all these pieces and tokens around, but there's no way of keeping score. And all of that is kind of pointless because the whole goal of the game is to get the golden snitch. The game ends when you get the golden snitch. And to get the golden snitch, all you need to do is turn over a card that says something like, find the golden snitch, and then you roll the dice and you move the squares that you need toward the snitch. And you have to roll the exact number. Once you get close enough to the snitch to roll, you have to roll the exact number to get to the snitch. So basically, in order to win the game, and I mean, the token play and the cards take quite a few turns to move the tokens and play the cards and get the right color cards you need to play stuff. I mean, you could go on like that for a long time. But Robert figured out very quickly, he's going like, I just need to turn over these cards. So he just kept drawing those cards until he got the golden snitch card, puts it on the board, and then draw and draw and draw until he gets the golden snitch card, and then roll dice, move it, roll dice, move it, roll dice, win. That's it. So, I mean, strategically, you can just ignore all of the gameplay of the entire game, and on your turn, just draw cards from that one deck and roll die, and just keep doing it till you win. So, there you go. So, yeah, the game is really seriously broken. Because 90% of the gameplay has nothing to do with winning and is utterly pointless to winning. And if you do that, it will actually hinder you from winning because you won't be drawing the cards you need to win. We were not pleased. This one is probably not going to stay in the gameplay collection because I can't ever see us playing it again because it's definitely, at this point, a contender for most pointless game I have ever played in my life. Yeah, not good at all. I really had high hopes for it being a two-player game and all. I thought that, because I mean, you can make a pretty tight game if you're just doing a two-player game. But it doesn't work. So after that was when we played Parks again because we needed a good fun game that everything worked well in order to kind of get the bad taste out of our mouth, so to speak. A palate cleanser game. So we had a good time doing this. Had a good time this weekend. We played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We played 8 games. We played 8 plays of 7 games. 6 if you count the 2 Carcassonnes together, which really they're very different games. Mist over Carcassonne and regular Carcassonne. And we tried out our new Watch It Played mugs for the first time. Oh my gosh. I left the bison meeple out. The bison is wandering. Yeah, I need to put that away, wrap this video up. It's been good talking to you, just sitting around the table chatting about the games we played this weekend. What's your favorite game, and what do you think the criteria is for a favorite game? Can you really have a favorite game if you almost, like you just kind of have to like block off an entire day and play it once a year? Can you really call that a favorite game? Or is it just a game you love but never play? Almost never. So, I don't know. Talk to me about favorite games and any thoughts you have on these other games that we played. But next week, we're going to look at that unplayed game shelf, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that we've played some. The bad is that we have a lot that we need to play and some really good games there amongst them. And the ugly is the state of the shelf. But Yeah, I'm not actually going to show you the state of the shelf. I think I'll just bring the games to the table for that one. And then the video after that will be the 1-year anniversary video. So I really, really appreciate y'all subscribing and hanging out in the comments and chatting with me about board games. What did you play over the 3-day weekend, if you had a 3-day weekend? If you didn't have a 3-day weekend, what did you play? We try to get things done as much as possible during the week so that we have more free time for fun stuff on the weekends. Sometimes we can't quite swing it, but we did a good job this time. We cleared the decks pretty well for a 4-day weekend of gameplay. So we just laid around the house, read books, and played games. Here's Little Bison. I love this little meatball. It's so nice. Anyhow, I'll see you next time around the table, and we will tackle the thorny question of the unplayed game shelf. Bye.